Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabados of Delmar, and together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service, jbiztechphilly.com, and now columnist for the Jewish Press.
And I'm having a lot of fun doing all those things, and I talk on my column. I talk about how government relates to the Jewish community, or doesn't, as the case may be. But when you talk about government, one of the stellar county executives in this area is Kathy Jimino from Rensselaer County Executive. So welcome to the Jewish View.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Now, you live in Lansingburgh in Troy.
I do, yes.
Now, Lansingburgh, we keep hearing about how awful it is. We have this happening, that happening. I mean, it's just always in the news. How's your block on Lansingburgh?
Our neck of the woods is pretty good. We're in front of Knickerbocker Park, so there's a lot of activities always going on behind us, whether it's softball or soccer.
So you're not in the crime district?
No, there are some very lovely parts of Lansingburgh and the city of Troy as a whole. In fact, I've been a city of Troy resident my entire life, and I've lived in a number of different parts of the city, but we're very happy up in Lansingburgh.
How have you seen it change, for the better or the worse?
Well, I think in some neighborhoods it's clearly gone a bit downhill. We have, as most cities do, a lot of absentee landlord issues in certain parts of the city. But we've seen a tremendous resurgence in the downtown area, and now we're starting to see that spread into the neighborhoods. And North Central, I'm happy to say, is getting a lot of attention from a lot of different groups. And so we're seeing a lot of activity there. The Troy Central Little League, for instance, just had a tremendous makeover from, in part, the Capital Region Chamber of Commerce. They dedicated some folks to that effort, some of their leadership class. A number of other organizations have been in there. So we see kids playing on two fields that weren't in the best of shape that are now in tremendous shape, and a real turnout from the entire community for the kids there, and that's wonderful to see.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. I was wondering about, because you hear about Lansingburgh, about, you know, you have fights, you have racial issues, you have water pipes bursting, you have streets collapsing, and, you know, I didn't know how close that was to where you actually lived. And, you know, sometimes the media takes a small area of a 2 or 3 block area, and they make it seem like it's everything.
Yes, and that's a bit of the case too. We have had some challenges, but we also have a lot of wonderful things in Lansingburgh, including Snowman Ice Cream, which is now open for the season. As I said, we have the park right behind the house, wonderful historic branch of the Troy Public Library in Lansingburgh. So just a lot of great things going on.
Okay, you're being the cheerleader.
I am. I'm always the cheerleader.
Cheerleader in charge. Well, let's do something else that's cheerleading, the ValleyCats.
Yes.
Their season's starting up again.
Yes, June 17th, as a matter of fact, is opening day, which also happens to be my husband and my anniversary. So I told him I got a big treat for our anniversary this year. But thankfully he's
the first pitch?
Yeah, I won't, but no. But we'll go and we'll watch. And he's a huge baseball fan, a Yankee fan, as a matter of fact. So I like to say, I saw that. Yeah. I like to say I'm a Yankee fan by marriage.
And how many years have you been married?
This year it will be 38 years.
Usually it's the man who can't remember.
I know. Isn't that? Don't tell my husband I struggled remembering that. 38 years. I was a child bride, obviously.
You sure were, because you're only 29.
That's right.
All right, so now we want to talk about some other issues.
But just ValleyCats is probably the most successful sports venue, because the basketball team didn't make it.
Well, that was the Patroons.
Yeah, the Patroons.
Yeah.
They didn't make it here. Yeah. And the hockey is always, I don't know if they're making it, but they're always saying they may move out.
The Devils just had the best home season ever.
Yeah, but the attendance, that's not saying how they play on the field, but just the ValleyCats seems to be very, very successful.
Yes.
Everybody comes out for that. Like, it caught on, not like these other teams.
It's very reasonable cost to get into the stadium. There's not a bad seat in the stadium. And they have a lot of activities in between the innings as well to keep particularly the young kids engaged. So it's always a lot of fun, and it's very reasonable. we talk about the Yankees, and of course we know how much it costs to go down to Yankee Stadium between the travel costs, the ticket costs, the food prices, but you can go to the ValleyCats, see the ValleyCats at a very reasonable rate for food and tickets as well.
It really is for two people to go down to a Yankee game. You're blowing the better part of $600.
Yes, very expensive.
And it's really amazing when you think about
Yeah.
all the costs that besides the ticket.
Plus the ValleyCats, everybody's there, so it's also a social event.
That's right.
Oftentimes I'll find myself not getting to my seat till about the 5th inning because I'm talking to everybody along the way, and it's a great time,
Are
real
they gonna
attraction.
give you a bobblehead doll, or did they already?
They did a few years back.
You bring one?
I will bring it next time.
I'll put it on here.
Okay. There's somebody that I know that says they always tap my bobblehead to see if they can do something. Can I put away my work and take a nap? Yes.
This is like one of those magic 8 balls.
Yes, I have to make sure who I give it to that they'll be deserving of taking a break whenever they want.
So let's talk about, I brought up in Lansingburgh that there were some road issues and some problems with, big expanses of potholes, and not just potholes, but
oh, well, always
where the
water
road just
pipes
collapsed
issues,
and
yes.
water pipes. So, but you got money to repair roads and bridges throughout the county?
Yes, as a matter of fact, this year's state budget had a couple of good funding spots for us. One of those was the Pave New York program. And
I call it the Touring New York program.
The Touring New York,
Detouring,
okay. Yes, the detour.
Detoured, yes. But you want to call it the repaving program.
Yes,
okay.
yes. Well, actually, I like to tell a little story about the seasons in upstate New York. There's almost winter, still winter, and paving. So we're going to have an expanded paving season this year because the state legislature and the governor put some extra money in for municipalities, about $100 million extra each year for the next 4 years. So we'll be getting an increase of over 20% in our CHIPS money, which is Consolidated Highway Improvement Funds. And so we'll be able to get out and expand our paving program this year, which anywhere in New York, upstate New York in particular, after a winter even as mild as this year, we'll see some damage to the roads.
It's interesting because they talk about the roads being abused because of heavy traffic. But a lot of Rensselaer County is rural, and you don't have so much traffic, the definition of rural.
Yes,
so
right.
Are the more outlying roads doing better than let's say the city roads?
I think they both see the most wear and tear actually from the weather. And you talked about water pipes earlier. They are also impacted by the weather, but that same heaving that's happening underneath and impacting the water pipes is also impacting the roads. And oddly enough, a year like this year where we didn't have a heavy freeze, where it kind of freeze and thaw, that sometimes can wear even more on the roads as they heave up and heave back down. So you'll see some wear and tear from that. As well, some of our rural roads, we'll see a little more on the shoulders of wear and tear as a result of farm equipment moving back and forth, some heavy-duty equipment, and they generally stay to the side of the road so they're not impeding traffic. They may want to get around them. So
now
we
you're
do see.
county executive for 15 years now.
Yes.
Did you ever think that you'd know this much about paving and asphalt? And
No, I have learned a lot. For a city kid, I've learned a lot about what goes on in the country, and I have to say that was the wonderful thing about this job. I always say if you can go into work and learn something new every day, that's a good day, and I've learned a lot.
In Rensselaer County, so
Yes,
you have a lot
we
to
do.
learn.
We do. Yes.
So you're not giving this up anytime soon? Then.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
You're young enough where you could still do this for another 15, 20 years?
Well, I don't know about 15 or 20, but I thank you for thinking I'm young enough to do 15 or 20 more.
Okay. Farmland protection. Do you know that the gentleman who's the Rensselaer County legislator, he has a kosher milking farm.
Yes, the Harrington's farm.
Harrington's farm.
Yes.
But it's all under kosher supervision.
Yes, it is.
And,
Ken Harrington is our legislator, and he and his brother have run the dairy farm for a number of years. I think they milk 600 or more, and they have about 600 heifers. But Ken was the leader in the effort in our county to put together a farmland protection program, and he's taught me a lot about agriculture over the last 15 years. And so that's how our farmland protection process started. But yeah, we're delighted that they have kosher milk that is produced on the farm there, and then that allows him to get into markets that he might not otherwise be able to get into, and keeps the farm very solid.
No, I think one of the beauty of the Capital District, because people come from New York, and I don't live in the Rensselaer County, but on the other hand, you go like, here's a big city, and then 3 miles out, you know, in 5 minutes, you're in the, you know, for a New York City, it takes an hour and a half just to see a blade of grass.
Yes.
You know, it does something. So I think it's one of the beauties. You have a mixture of both.
Yes.
But, you know, Mark was saying about the kosher, and I don't know how many people in the, you know, that live in the Jewish community in Troy, but, I mean, again, is it building up? I mean, I know that they say the waterfront where, you know, like Mark was maybe hinting to, you know, they don't want a low crime area and a prosperous area. That's where, you know, your upper middle class people want to move into. You know? And I've dealt with Troy because I was a rabbi there for the high holidays and best to fill on River Street. So, you know, we walked around. I know that area a little bit, but, you know, I mean, it was a little bit down.
Yes.
But now to build it up would be really a great boon for, I think, for them and the Jewish community.
Yes.
Have you been to Beth Tefillah?
I have, yes, but not in a while. It's been a long time. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful building. Yes.
And even in the Nassau, town of Nassau, there's the Nassau Synagogue.
Yes, we celebrated, I think, a few years back, the 100th anniversary, wasn't it? Yes.
Because those were farmers who settled there and who set up that synagogue. Yeah, Jewish farmers.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, I was going to tell you about the Harringtons. Yeah, his brother is the supervisor of Brunswick, isn't he?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're all in politics. They're all milking something.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Farming. Okay.
Yeah,
so.
but a lot of our legislators on the county legislature are not from a farming background.
No.
So it helps to have Ken there to represent the interests of the farms, as well as the other interests that people bring. Some are small business owners, and so they bring that perspective, and together with all of the different perspectives, they can produce legislation that really reflects the community well.
How many departments do you have? Am I catching you on this?
Yes.
Is it like 30 departments?
It is about 30 different departments.
In the county. Can you streamline any of that? Do you really need all of that? I mean, it's not a really big populous county.
Right, we're about a mid-sized county as far as the state goes, but I think the number of departments reflects the charges that we have from state government and from federal government in terms of delivering services. And a lot of people have heard me talk about unfunded state mandates or underfunded state mandates. So that's reflected in a lot of what we do. So first of all, we have a jail, and that is required that we do that in a centralized fashion for the county. We also have the court system under our watch, if you will, so we have a district attorney's office, we have a public defender's office. In case of a conflict, we also have a conflict defender's office for those that are unable to pay for their own defense, which is critical that we provide those services. We have a nursing home. That's not a mandated function, but we're very proud of our nursing home and have done very well with them.
You have tax services, you have travel and tourism, you have Van Rensselaer Manor, you have Department of Youth, Highway Department,
Department for Aging,
mental health, probation, public health, public safety, sewer district. I mean, it goes on. The county attorney, county clerk, county executive, district attorney, the Department of Motor Vehicles, which falls under the county clerk.
That's correct, yes.
So you have it listed separately on the website. But, you know, so you really, what's the budget for all this? What's your county budget?
We're at about $320 million, and we have about 1,700 full and part-time employees. And I'm glad you read the list, because a lot of people don't know what the county does. And until they get their tax bill, they don't even ask. They get their tax bill and say, what am I paying for? But you see that there's a huge depth and breadth of services, primarily, I would say, in the human service area and criminal justice areas. So for the most part, people, for instance, such as myself that live in the city, I see the road paving, that's city. I, have my water bill, my recycling bill. All of those services come from the city. So unless I'm in trouble with the law or have fallen on hard times a bit financially, I'm probably not going to interact with the county government a lot. Out in the country, outside of the city, it's the road paving that's big, because that's what most citizens will see as service from their county government. But they don't realize if they buy a home and they have a well and the well is tested, that we're involved with that. If they're installing a septic system, we're involved with that. If they have children in the school, we've probably got programs that their children are experiencing, because we get involved to try to teach our young people at a very young age about staying away from drugs and alcohol, and so that falls under our mental health services as well.
And then you have under the social service department, I guess there's SNAP program, the food stamp program.
Correct. Food stamps and help for families and temporary assistance for needy families.
Now, I have to tell you, under travel and tourism on your website, you have nothing.
Well, we are working on a new website, that's why.
But you have nothing underneath. You don't have a location, you don't have anything, who's in charge, or...
Yeah, what happened with our
website... I mean, it's like everything else has got something,
Yeah, so. What happened with our website is that our old one, we actually didn't upgrade it as often as we should, so it got to the point where all of a sudden we couldn't update anything at all. And we're hoping to have our new and improved website by the end of this month, so it should be able to get information out right in the nick of time for all of the summer activities.
I thought you just did away with travel and tourism and threw up your hands and gave up and said that's it.
Oh, no, because we have lots going on in that area as well, and we want to make sure people are aware of all of the fun things that go on, particularly at this time of year. I mean, there are people that like to go out in the winter. I'm not one of them. But in the summertime, I love to get out, and we have some terrific spots to be.
Where does the county fair in Scotticoke fall in under your auspices?
Well, the county fair is run by a separate board. However, we contract with the fair to use one entire building for county services alone. Yeah. So we, for the entire week that the fair is going on, we have a number of people up there from our health department, from our public safety, from STOP, DWI, youth, veterans, aging, mental health. All of those services are up there trying to make contact with people that may not be aware of the services that we provide and how to access them.
After 15 years, and you're going to the same fair, and you know where all the buildings are, and you know where all the stuff, do you ever go, oh, okay, guys, we got to get our troops together, we got to go out there, we got to shake hands and smile, and, I mean, is there ever a tiresome moment, or is this just living the dream?
I really enjoy going to the fair, I really do. And the trick is to not eat any of the greasy foods until like the last few days. So we set up our itinerary to make sure that we're eating all the healthy food that's at the fair for the first 3 or 4 days, because you don't want to get an upset stomach right at the get-go. But it's a lot of fun, and again, it's something you learn a little bit more each year that you go and talk with the families that are there who have their cows at the fair, or the kids from 4-H who last year could not show, for instance, their chickens because of the avian flu. So, you talk with them about what else they were doing, and they put up different displays. So you really get to engage people and learn a little bit more about agriculture.
Are you going to have something with pipelines, water pipelines, and educating the public about what it takes with the heaving and all that, and the pipeline? I mean, it's a fairly visual type of thing that you can really, I mean, you can put anything new in there like that? Or?
Well, I think what we'll do water-wise this year would be to have some information about what's going on in Hoosick Falls and Petersburgh with regard to...
There? Maybe you can tell me.
Yeah.
Really, Mark's the truth. But why don't you start from the basics? Because I don't know, I know, like I say, I know I'm a rabbi, but I'm like an average person. You hear troubles with the water.
Yes.
What was the cause? What was the problem? And what are they obviously trying to make a solution?
Sure. Well, what was the problem was that there was a chemical found in the water, in the drinking water, called PFOA.
How did it get there?
It came there as a result of some manufacturing plants that are located, one in Hoosick Falls and one in Petersburgh. And several years back, both of those facilities used different chemicals that had PFOA in them. And as a result of that being used, somehow it got into the groundwater, whether that was through them getting rid of chemicals somehow through the air as the smokestacks emitted some of that. At any rate, it's in the drinking water. And the problem is that PFOA is not a regulated contaminant. And so we don't know what's a safe level, if any, in the water. The EPA has not set a standard, nor has New York State set a standard. The EPA has set an advisory, and so we have used that as the level by which we will try to get that out of the water. And so we work with the communities to identify different filtration systems. The state is dealing with the companies that are involved to make sure that they're going to step up to the plate.
It may not be dangerous, you're saying.
Well, I think there are some studies that have shown that it can be dangerous, but we're not sure at what level. Most of what they have seen in terms of the ill effects on public health have resulted from people who have worked up close with that chemical and been exposed to it continuously. There's not really any certainty about what is a safe level in the water. The EPA, though, has come in and said 100 parts per trillion is the level that we should be shooting to get under in terms of keeping that water safe, and that's what we want. We want to make sure that people are drinking safe water. And so we've been working with the municipalities, as I say, to try to find filtration systems that can go on the municipal systems and filtration systems that can go on individual homes for people that have wells. And then the EPA and the DEC from New York State, they will get into the area and look at how is the ground contaminated? Are the rivers contaminated? How do we get that contamination out? So going forward, we can be assured that as the water filters through, it will be cleaner, safer.
You know, when this story first broke, and I don't know if you had the same thoughts, but I said, oh no, Love Canal.
Yes.
Did you think, or I thought of Erin Brockovich before she came to Troy.
Yes, yes.
But did you have those same thoughts that?
Yeah, you wonder how far is this going to go? You know, how much have people been exposed to? And I think there are still more questions than answers with that regard. But I think that there are very there's a limited area in which this is impacting, and an ability to get that filtered out of the water. So that's what is giving us a little bit of a sigh of relief, so that we know that people are not continuing to drink contaminated water. The ball fields in Hoosick Falls was a concern. Is this in the soil? Should we be keeping our kids from playing on the ball fields? And they have been found to be a very, very low level, so they are safe. But it is, I think, evidence of our manufacturing and industrial history that we're now finding out chemicals that were at one point in time deemed to be safe, such as the PCBs that existed in the Hudson River for so long. We're finding now that they're not safe, that they can have a detrimental impact on human health, and we've got to get them out of the environment.
You know, I got a few questions. One is, you know, what bothered me about the PCBs in the Hudson is that in the 1950s, the EPA, whatever the agency was, environmental agency, the federal government gave the approval for GE to put those PCBs there.
Yes.
And then when they realized this is a problem, then they reversed themselves and they made the company pay for the cleanup that the federal government approved.
Right, right.
I mean, is this, it doesn't make sense to me.
No, and that's the same with these two companies that have been involved in Petersburgh and Hoosick. Saint-Gobain and Hoosick, and Taconic and Petersburgh. Both were using the chemical when it was approved to be used for manufacturing, and it was not known to be a problem. But fortunately for us, both of them have stepped up and say, yes, they will take responsibility for this contaminant being in the water and work with the municipalities, work with the homeowners to get that water, or that chemical out of the water.
How much politics is going on in the background? A, were you upset as a lot of other people were, or were you more sympathetic why the governor came when he came? I won't say late, I won't say early, when he came when he came to visit. And were you upset with what just came out with the town supervisor getting emails from Saint-Gobain that said, you know, treat us nicely or something. I don't know. There was
Oh,
some
okay.
certain emails.
Okay.
Is there politics going on in the background, or?
I think there's politics in everything
Everywhere, right.
and everywhere, yes. I think the biggest problem, my observation, that we had was communications initially. This contaminant was found in the water back in 2014 in Hoosick Falls. And the village didn't quite know what to say to people in terms of advice for drink it, don't drink it. And so they reached out through us to the state, and the state didn't have anything other than the EPA level at 400. And they reached out to the EPA, but apparently not at the right level, because this person didn't come back and raise any red flags. So as time went on, this became a little more evident, and actually I had sent an email to Judith Enck at the EPA and say, is there any funding, because we need to get these filters on the public water supply in people's homes. And that's when it became known at that level. And then they swooped in and said, no, 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 you shouldn't be drinking it at all, which was the first time that that guidance had come forward. So I think there was not enough communication between the federal government and the state and the locals that would say, don't drink this, let's do something right away.
When the governor came, was that proper timing? Was it late? Was it, do you not care?
It wasn't an issue to me, because we had the resources from the state at hand. And that's what I think we needed. Would we have liked it sooner? Yes. But I think as soon as the red flags started getting raised, then we had state DOH, the Department of Health, the Department of Environmental Conservation.
The governor is the figurehead.
Sure, yes.
I mean, is that an issue? I mean, because you were on site, you didn't just stay away. You went there as the figurehead and the leader of the county. Should the leader of the state gone there, like, you know, for the, you know, in the very beginning?
I think there were some people that would have appreciated him being there sooner. People that lived there to say that this was a priority for him. People, understandably, were very scared, and some still are. They've been drinking water with a contaminant that can have health problems, and nobody can quite get their arms around, is this something that has done some damage to them health-wise or not? Even the blood tests that are being drawn and the health study that's being conducted, I don't know that there's yet enough science to say if your level is this, you're going to have a problem. So people were and still remain very concerned about it.
One of the issues that really is in the political realm behind the scenes is the difference between, there's no love lost between the governor and your Assemblyman, Steve McLaughlin.
Correct.
So,
yes.
I mean, could this be why the governor's not personally paying enough attention, because he's trying not to give Steve as much credit or something? I mean, as a political pundit, looking back at this, how do you see, you know, taking off your county executive hat? How do you see this? I mean, is it petty?
I don't think so. I don't think it has anything to do with disagreement with Steve McLaughlin or not. Truthfully, I think it's a big state. There are a lot of places to be. And I don't know that the governor appreciated just how much of a concern this was for the people there, and how much they were looking for him to be there. As I say, he had a lot of resources that he sent in from the Department of Health and Environmental Conservation, and perhaps he thought that that would send a message to the people that, you know, he was very concerned about the problem and getting it resolved.
There's nothing like being there on your own. You know, you can, you know, now we're all videotaping public meetings, and you know, if people aren't showing up at the public meetings, they're watching it on their TV. And you know, but there's nothing like still being at the meeting and seeing your elected officials. Same thing with the governor. There's nothing like being there and not just sending, you know, someone else surrogate. You know.
Sure, I think it sends a message that this is, you know, an issue that's important, and I think he was certainly well received when he was there. So
well, he was received.
Yes.
I know that you have to, you know, you have to play along in the big sandbox. So I didn't want to put you in that situation.
No, that's all right.
But so are you going to? So again, with the state fair is an interesting place to have an educational tool. So you can have education about Hoosick Falls. You can have education about pipelines. You can have
Yes.
booths about that. And you can have education about kosher milk.
Yes, yep, that's
And
true.
you can have
That's
the
true.
Harringtons have a whole, have the rabbi and explain kosher
Yes.
milk and
Yeah.
what his farm is doing all for kosher milk all around the world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm giving you some ideas.
I like
here,
it. I like it. It is a very good teaching environment, and it's nice to have something different each year so that people aren't just kind of bypassing the county building and say, "Oh, been there, done that." It is a good opportunity to share some information. So all of those topics would be good. And there's also, some very breaking other public health concerns, such as the Zika virus, for instance, that we're involved with. So I imagine we will have that there.
And that energy pipeline,
Yes.
whatever, so you can have information about that.
Yes.
But I always win goldfish when I go with
Do you?
Scattercook. Yeah, I always win my
Not a
team.
gefilte fish over here. Gefilte
You know what I
fish.
found out in gefilte fish? They have carp.
You're right.
And I didn't know carp was
okay.
a kosher fish. But in the gefilte fish, when they mix the different fishes, they have carp.
You're
And
right.
that's what goldfish.
That's what I
Goldfish,
was
if they
gonna
get
say,
to a
yes.
larger size, that's carp.
That's carp.
I didn't know I could eat
All
my
right.
goldfish.
Yes.
But I tell you, they last the longest when I win the goldfish at the goldfish bowl. You throw in the
Yes.
ping pong balls.
We had a fish that I think lasted us about 11 years.
Yeah.
We called it Lucky because it kept on living, and every time we would get a bigger tank as it grew, it would get bigger, and I didn't realize that's what fish do. If
It
you buy them
grows
a
to the
bigger
size
tank,
of
they will
the-
continue to grow into the size of the tank, so we finally stopped getting Lucky a bigger
Well,
tank.
they go together to the county fair over here.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, but I don't like to talk about the county fair too early because that signals the end of summer. It's on
Right.
Labor Day weekend, so we got a
Along with
lot
the
of summer to
along with
enjoy.
the Chatham Fair, which is not too
Yes.
far away in Columbia County.
That's right. A lot of people from the southern part of the county head
You
there.
kind of have either the joy of two fairs or your competition from two fairs close by.
Yes, and the state fair is about the same time out in,
That's
in
right.
Syracuse. I think it gets a jump on us by a few days, but so yeah, lots of fairs to enjoy this summer.
Okay, well,
Well, thank you very much for being on
Thank
the
you.
Jewish View, and you're doing a lot of great work, and
Thank
continue
you.
with your success with
Yes.
good health.
Thank you. We have a great
Continued
team.
success.
Thank you.